You wake up one day, and the house feels different. The woman sleeping next to you looks like your wife. She sounds like your wife. But the way she looks at you has changed. It is no longer a look of partnership or affection. It is a look of disdain. Or worse, it is a look of absolute indifference. You have spent the last 15 or 20 years building a life with this woman. You worked hard to provide a stable home. You raised children together. You weathered financial storms and family tragedies. You thought you had reached the safe harbor of your life. You thought that the hard part was over. But you are wrong. You are standing on top of a ticking time bomb. And for millions of men between the ages of 40 and 60, that bomb is about to detonate. We need to have a very difficult conversation today. It is a conversation about biology, psychology, and the brutal reality of aging. Society tells you that marriage is about love and commitment. Movies tell you that if you are a good man, you get the happy ending. But reality operates on a different set of rules. Reality is governed by hormones, neurochemistry, and market dynamics. And right now, the market dynamics of your marriage are shifting beneath your feet in ways you do not understand. You might be asking yourself why she is acting this way. Why is she suddenly obsessed with the gym? Why is she buying clothes that belong in your daughter's closet? Why is she reconnecting with friends from high school she hasn't spoken to in decades? Why is she rewriting the history of your marriage to paint you as a villain? I am going to give you the answers. They are not the answers you want to hear, but they are the answers you need to survive what is coming. This is not about bashing women. This is about understanding the biological machine that drives human behavior. When you understand the mechanism, you stop taking it personally. And when you stop taking it personally, you can start protecting yourself. Let's start with the fundamental truth that nobody talks about. The crisis your wife is going through has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with her own identity collapse. For a woman, identity is constructed differently than it is for a man. From the time she was a teenager, her value in the world was tied to her beauty and her fertility. Society reinforced this every single day. When she walked into a room at 25, heads turned. She commanded attention simply by existing. She had power. She had options. She was the prize that men competed for. And for 20 years, that operating system worked perfectly. But biology is cruel. It gives with one hand and it takes away with the other. When a woman hits 40, the invisible hand of nature begins to flip the switch. The beauty that she relied on as her primary currency begins to depreciate. The attention she took for granted starts to fade. She walks into a room, and heads do not turn the way they used to. She posts a photo online, and the validation is not as intense as it was 5 years ago. This is not vanity. This is an existential crisis. Imagine you are a professional athlete. Your entire life, your income, your status, your self-worth is tied to your physical performance. You are the best on the field. And then, one day, your knees give out. You can't run as fast. You can't jump as high. The younger players are faster, stronger, and hungrier. Your identity as an athlete is dying. That is what is happening inside your wife's mind. She is grieving the death of her youth. She looks in the mirror, and she sees a stranger. She sees the wrinkles. She sees the grey hair. She sees the gravity taking its toll. And she is terrified. Terrified of becoming invisible. Terrified of losing her power. Terrified that the best years of her life are behind her. And terror makes people do irrational things. Terror makes people desperate. This is where you come in. You are the witness to her aging. Every time she looks at you, she sees the last 20 years. You are a constant reminder of the domestic life she settled for. You represent the soccer practices, the grocery runs, the mortgage payments. You represent the reality she is trying to escape. And because she cannot fight time, she fights you. She projects her internal chaos onto your stable life. She needs to believe that the problem is not her age. She needs to believe the problem is her marriage. Because if the problem is the marriage, then she can fix it by leaving. If the problem is you, she can solve it by finding someone new. It is a defense mechanism. It is a psychological trick she plays on herself to avoid facing the brutal truth of mortality. Now, let's talk about the chemistry of this disaster. We have to talk about dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter of desire, novelty, and anticipation. It is the chemical that makes falling in love feel like a drug high. When you first met, you gave her massive hits of dopamine. Everything was new. Everything was exciting. The uncertainty of whether you would call, the thrill of the first touch. But that was 15 years ago. Neurochemically, It is impossible to sustain that level of dopamine with the same person for decades. Your relationship has shifted from dopamine to oxytocin and serotonin. These are the chemicals of bonding, safety, and stability. They are beautiful chemicals. They are what allow you to build a family and a legacy. But they are not exciting. Stability is not thrilling. Reliability does not get you high. And right now, in the midst of her midlife panic, your wife is not looking for safety. She is looking for a fix. She is craving that dopamine rush she felt when she was 22. She wants to feel alive again. She wants to feel desired, not just loved. There is a massive difference between being loved and being desired. You love her. You are devoted to her. But your devotion is a given. It is guaranteed. It is safe. And to a woman in crisis, safety feels like a cage. This is why a compliment from a stranger means more to her than 10 years of your hard work. When you tell her she looks beautiful, she dismisses it. She thinks you have to say that. You are her husband. But when the barista at the coffee shop smiles at her, when the personal trainer at the gym compliments her form, when an old boyfriend from high school likes her photo on Facebook, that is pure, unadulterated dopamine. That is validation from the open market. It tells her she still has it. It tells her she is still a player in the game. And that feeling is addictive. It starts innocently enough. She isn't looking for an affair. She is just looking for a little boost. A little reminder that she is a woman, not just a mother and a wife. But the brain is a greedy organ. A little dopamine is never enough. She needs more. She needs higher stakes. She needs more intensity to feel the same buzz. This is why you see the escalation. First, it is just losing a few pounds. Then it is a new wardrobe. Then it is girls' nights out that go later and later. Then it is hiding her phone. She is chasing the high of being someone else. She is chasing the fantasy of a life not lived. And you cannot compete with a fantasy. You are real. You have flaws. You have bad breath in the morning. You have bills to pay. The fantasy man in her head has none of those things. He is a blank canvas onto which she projects all her unfulfilled desires. Now, we have to address the external forces accelerating this destruction. Your wife does not live in a vacuum. She lives in a culture that is actively hostile to male loyalty and family stability. She is surrounded by silent saboteurs. The first saboteur is her circle of friends, specifically the divorced ones. Pay close attention to who your wife is spending her time with. Is she hanging out with happily married women who respect their husbands? Or is she spending her Friday nights with women who are single, divorced, or miserable? These women are dangerous. I call them the dealers. They are dealing poison disguised as empowerment. They are miserable, and misery loves company. A happily married woman is an affront to a divorced woman's life choices. So, they will chip away at your marriage. They will reframe your normal human flaws as toxic behavior. They will tell her she deserves better. They will tell her that life is too short to be unhappy. They will celebrate her rebellion. They do this because if she leaves you, it validates their own decision to destroy their families. They need her to join their club so they don't feel alone in the wreckage. They will turn your stable, boring reliability into a crime. He doesn't understand you, they will say. He holds you back. You have grown apart. They act like a Greek chorus, chanting for the destruction of your home. The second saboteur is social media. The algorithm is not your friend. The algorithm is a therapist that only tells you what you want to hear. If she pauses for just a second on a video about finding yourself, the algorithm takes note. Suddenly, her feed is flooded with content about toxic masculinity, narcissism, and the glory of starting over. She sees influencers who look 40 but filter themselves to look 25. She sees curated highlight reels of other people's lives. She sees women traveling, partying, and living a second adolescence. She compares her behind-the-scenes reality with everyone else's stage performance. And she feels cheated. She feels like she is missing out on a great party that everyone else was invited to. The algorithm feeds her dissatisfaction. It validates her victimhood. It gives her a vocabulary to weaponize against you. Suddenly, you are not just a guy who forgot to take out the trash. You are a gaslighter. You are a narcissist. You are emotionally unavailable. She learns these terms from TikTok and Instagram, and she applies them to you to justify her detachment. She is being radicalized against her own family by a machine designed to keep her scrolling. And then there is the third saboteur, the you-go girl culture. Modern society has elevated female happiness above all other values. Duty, honor, loyalty, stability. These are seen as outdated concepts. The only thing that matters is living your truth. If she is not happy in every single moment, then something is wrong and she needs to change it. Nobody tells her that happiness is a fleeting emotion, not a permanent state of being. Nobody tells her that destroying a family for a temporary feeling is a tragedy, not a triumph. Instead, she is bombarded with messages that tell her she is a queen, that she should never settle, that she is entitled to everything she wants, exactly when she wants it. This cultural narrative creates a profound sense of entitlement. It erases the concept of sacrifice. Marriage requires sacrifice. Parenting requires sacrifice. Building a legacy requires sacrifice. But the modern narrative tells her that sacrifice is oppression. So when the excitement fades, she doesn't see it as a natural phase of a long-term relationship. She sees it as an injustice. And she feels justified in correcting that injustice by any means necessary, even if it means burning your life to the ground. You need to understand the mechanism of how she rewrites history. This is the part that hurts men the most. It is the part that drives you crazy, because it makes you question your own sanity. When a woman decides to leave, she cannot just say, "I am bored." She cannot say, "I want to sleep with other people." That would make her the bad guy. And in her internal narrative, she must remain the hero, or at the very least, the victim. So, she has to turn you into the villain. She has to rewrite the past. Remember those vacations where you laughed until your sides hurt? She will say she was faking it. Remember the years you worked overtime to buy the house she wanted? She will say you were a workaholic who neglected her. Remember how you supported her through her family issues? She will say you were controlling. She will take every ambiguous moment from the last 15 years and view it through a lens of darkness. This is called revisionist history. It is a psychological necessity for her. To justify the immense guilt of breaking up the family, the reason must be huge. It cannot be boredom. It must be abuse. It must be neglect. It must be incompatibility. She will convince herself of these lies until she actually believes them. She will look you in the eye and tell you things that never happened. And she will believe them with absolute conviction. Do not try to argue with logic. Do not bring out old love letters or photos to prove her wrong. You are fighting a feeling with facts, and in her world, feelings are the only facts that matter. The more you try to defend yourself, the more you validate her narrative that you are argumentative and controlling. You have to accept that the version of you in her head is a fictional character. She has created a monster to justify her escape. And the tragedy is, the kids are watching all of this. They are the collateral damage in her war against time. She will tell herself that the kids want her to be happy. Happy mom, happy home, right? Wrong. Kids do not care about their mom's self-actualization. They care about stability. They care about knowing that their parents are a unit. They care about their home not being torn apart. But in the throes of a midlife crisis, a mother's instinct to protect the nest is overridden by the woman's instinct to feed the ego. She will prioritize her need for validation over their need for security. And she will rationalize it by saying she is modeling bravery for them. Leaving a good man because you are bored is not brave. It is selfish. But you cannot say that to her. She is immune to that truth right now. So, what happens next? What is the aftermath of this explosion? Because there is always an aftermath. The fantasy she is chasing is not sustainable. The dopamine eventually runs out. The new guy, if there is one, is just a man. He has flaws too. Maybe he is exciting for 6 months. But eventually, he will leave the toilet seat up. Eventually, the novelty wears off. And she will be left alone in an apartment, 43 years old, sharing custody of her children, dating men who are looking for 25-year-olds. The dating market for women over 40 is brutal. While she was married to you, she was protected from that reality. She thought her value was high because she got attention from men who wanted easy access. But when she enters the market looking for commitment, she is in for a rude awakening. High-value men your age are not looking for a 40-year-old divorced mother with baggage and an identity crisis. They are looking for peace. They are looking for youth. Or they are happily married to women who didn't blow up their lives. She will realize, too late, that she traded a diamond for a handful of glitter. And often, this is when she tries to come back. This is when you get the late-night texts. "I miss us. I made a mistake. Can we talk?" And this brings us to the most important part of this conversation. The strategy for your survival. You need to listen to me very carefully right now. The woman who left you is not the woman who tries to come back. She has been altered. She has broken the sacred covenant of trust. She has shown you that her loyalty is conditional on her mood. If you take her back, you are not restoring your marriage. You are telling her that there are no consequences for her betrayal. You are telling her that you are a safety net, not a man of value. You must stand firm. Your loyalty was your greatest strength during the marriage. But now, blind loyalty is your greatest weakness. You need to shift your mindset from saving the marriage to saving yourself. This is not about being vindictive. This is about self-preservation. Here is your protocol. Step 1. Secure your assets. While she is in the fog of her crisis, she may be feeling guilty. Use that guilt. Get the financial agreements signed now. Separate your accounts. Protect your retirement. Do not assume she will play fair later. When the dopamine wears off and the anger sets in, she will come for everything. Hope for the best, but prepare for war. Document everything. Keep a journal. Save the texts. If she is rewriting history, you need a record of reality. Step 2. Do not chase. Chasing a woman in this state is like pouring gasoline on a fire. It pushes her further away. It confirms her belief that she is the prize and you are the desperate pursuer. You must withdraw your attention completely. Go no contact except for logistics regarding the children. Be polite but distant. Be a grey rock. Give her the space she claimed she wanted. Give her the gift of missing you. Let her feel the cold vacuum of a life without your support. Let her fix her own car. Let her pay her own bills. Let her deal with her own emotional chaos. You are no longer her emotional tampon. Step 3. Focus on the male prime. This is the good news. This is the light at the end of the tunnel. While she is fighting a losing battle against aging, you are entering your prime. Men age like wine. Women age like milk. It is a cliché because it is true. At 45 or 50, a man who is fit, financially stable, and wise is a hot commodity. Your value in the sexual marketplace is going up, not down. You have resources. You have experience. You have emotional stability. You have freedom. You need to pivot your focus entirely to yourself. Hit the gym, not to win her back, but to rebuild the machine that carries you through life. Update your wardrobe. Reconnect with your male friends. Pick up the hobbies you sacrificed for the sake of the family. Build a business. Travel. Become the best version of yourself. This is the ultimate revenge, but more importantly, it is the ultimate recovery. When she sees you thriving without her, it will shatter her narrative. She needs you to be miserable to justify her choice. If you are happy, strong, and successful, it proves that she was the problem. But do not do it for her. Do it for you. Do it for your children. They need to see a father who is strong, not a father who is broken. They need to see that a man can survive betrayal with his dignity intact. You are teaching them a lesson about resilience that no school can teach. Understand this. The pain you are feeling right now is real. It is a grief comparable to death, but it is also a forge. Fire burns away the impurities. It burns away the weakness. It burns away the dependency. What is left, if you let it happen, is pure steel. You will emerge from this harder, sharper, and clearer than you have ever been. You will realize that your happiness does not depend on a woman who couldn't handle the reality of life. Your happiness depends on your own mission, your own purpose, and your own self-respect. The woman you married is gone. Mourn her. Bury the memory of who she was, but do not let her ghost haunt your future. You have 20, 30, maybe 40 good years left. These can be the best years of your life. Years of freedom. Years of wisdom. Years where you call the shots. Do not waste them trying to understand the irrationality of a midlife crisis. You cannot logic someone out of a situation they didn't logic themselves into. Let her go. Let her chase the butterflies until she realizes they are just bugs. You have an empire to build. You have a life to live. Stand up, dust yourself off, and walk forward into your prime. The door is closed. Do not look back. There is nothing there for you anymore but history. And you, my friend, are the future. This is the reality. This is the truth. Accept it and be free.